Ladies and gentlemen, the last 24 hours around crypto and global markets has been insane. We just got one of the biggest updates regarding the Iran war with the US, and this is coming from Trump himself. Now, let's start off by looking at a few things around the market, and then we will go into, really the big details regarding what just happened and how this changed markets. So, right off the rip, fear and greed. We're now back to 23. We're just above extreme fear. This is a good sign that sentiment is starting to shift slightly. We are not yet in the neutral territory that we really kind of want to be yet, but I'm definitely expecting us to get back into that level probably within the next 1 to 3 weeks. Now, looking at Bitcoin's fear and greed, we are still about roughly 13, so we are still in extreme fear. We were, yesterday at 8. So again, this is definitely a big shift. Even yesterday, in terms of the actual market, we were at about roughly 21. And then just looking at the market today itself, we are seeing a nice jump on the total market cap of crypto. We're sitting at about roughly 2.37 trillion. XRP back to almost $1.40. Bitcoin back above $70,000. Again, very good overall reaction in the markets. Now, what exactly shifted? What exactly changed? And it really does go back to the whole idea of oil. I said that oil is the key. It's always been the key. When oil is surging to $100 plus, yes, markets are going to get fearful. Now, crypto barely budged at all. Stocks were a little bit of a different story. Now, again, we'll address that here in a moment. But looking at Bitcoin, we just tapped our upper range here on the daily. We hit about roughly 70.7K. We need to get a big break over this. And even then, we're still not out of the water. We need a daily candle close on this chart above $74,000. Ultimately, we're going all the way back here to 2024. And this is where we really kind of start to see that big shift in the market where we could potentially flip the April and March 2025 lows back into support. This week is going to be very important because of multiple factors. Number one, we get the inflation report on the 11th, but then also our weekly candle close this week. I am watching for a solid weekly candle close just above 71.4K. That's really all I ask for. If we get anything else, hey, I'm going to be happy with it. If we can start to push back to 80K plus, I'm being very bullish here, right? Because I'm being conservative with just asking for 71.4K. But if we're going to be extremely bullish, because it's still just, Monday's ending, we're going to Tuesday, we have some time until Sunday. If we can manage to get above 80K by Sunday and get a weekly candle close above 78K, that's going to be absolutely monstrous for Bitcoin and for the entire market, because that means that we just flipped the March and April 2025 lows. That's the trade war lows, where our next key area of interest would essentially be the high 94K region to the low 86K region. That's going to be our focus if we could flip the April March lows. But so far, very good reaction on Bitcoin. I like to see this. Again, anything within this range of 70.7K and like 65.7K, this is the range where we're just kind of accumulating. We're just kind of chopping. Losing 65.7K equals very bearish. Breaking above 70.7K on the daily means that we're going to retest 74K, where we could start to form a bullish move on the chart. But so far, very good reaction on Bitcoin. XRP, kind of very similar. We are maintaining that $1.33 support zone on the daily. We still need to get a big break above $1.50 on the daily. And even then, we're really kind of just running into a wall at $1.66. We need to, flip that in a big way. But looking at this on the weekly, again, XRP still looking pretty good. On the weekly, we want to get a nice close above $1.50. That will be very good. And then ultimately, yes, we have a long way to go. But ultimately, $1.86 would be the main key area of interest. I would say pretty much anything up here is going to be pretty bullish for XRP if we can manage to break over it. So I'm watching closely, but it seems as though a path to some of these demand zones is starting to form. We can't get too excited though. We can't get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's address what exactly happened today, though. So the reason why crypto is bouncing back in a big way, well, stock futures were looking pretty good. Main reason why stock futures were looking pretty good is, of course, because of oil. Oil started to drop in a big way. $2 trillion was added to the U.S. stock market today from the lows, which we'll address here in a moment. And this is all because oil crashed. Oil actually had its first single day drop, like the largest single day drop in history, of negative 32% from $119 to $81. Now, I stated in a video recently, actually, it was the one from last night, where I said that I was wrong because I expected oil to top around the high going back to September of 2023. That was right around roughly $95. Now, we managed to run up even higher than that. And this is what you this is what you expect when you see a parabolic run. It's very hard to predict exactly when things are going to top. Like, for example, silver and gold, they were in a parabolic run. We were trying to bet on where are we going to top at. This managed to run up another 25, almost 26%. However, we just dropped in a massive way from that top area from roughly, again, $100 and almost $20 down to $81. This was a drop of 31, almost 32%. Now, the main reason why I was looking at a potential top for oil was simply the RSI. Now, I do think that oil is a very big topic of discussion when it comes back to the whole idea of the reverse carry trade, which I still think is something that's possible. Again, it all depends on where oil starts to stabilize at. But again, under 90, oil is looking very good. We still want to be under 90. Above $100 is a very big issue, which is why I'm actually very happy to see oil doing what it's doing right now. But yes, this does cause a lot of stress on the markets, which is why we typically see emergency events around oil where we start to release, like, for an example, last night we saw an article regarding 400 million barrels of oil. Yeah, it's because, again, if oil is very expensive, it means everything is very expensive. So I like this. We did hit the blue zone up here, roughly between $100 and almost $10 to $100 and almost $31. And then we start to see that reaction on the chart. RSI overbought, which, again, this is like the most overbought on the history of this chart. Now, I don't have the chart going all the way back to like the 80s, 70s, etc., but this is definitely a very big reaction on the chart, which again is to be expected. Now, is this the top for oil? Well, it all depends on if the situation with Iran starts to escalate or not. Now, we did get a big update regarding the Strait of Hormuz, right? We have here from Eric Daugherty, ships are beginning to safely make it through the Strait of Hormuz again as the U.S. military masterfully decimates the Iranian Navy. President Trump told oil tankers, show some guts. They have no navy. We sunk all their ships. Now, this caused oil to come back down and stabilize. This is exactly what I mean by, like, any major headline, any major announcement immediately affects these markets, specifically oil in a big way. So this was a very good, update regarding this, because if the Strait of Hormuz was continuously, if it continued to just be closed, oil would have surged to new highs, even going all the way back to 2022, which, again, people were calling for like $200 per barrel. So I'm happy that we avoided that, because, again, that would have been very concerning for the entire market. And also, we're not even just talking about markets, like financial markets. We're talking about pretty much everything. So this was a very good thing. Now, we also got a big update from Trump earlier today, which was Iran war could be over very soon. President Trump said he believes the conflict could end shortly, claiming Iran's leadership and military capabilities have been largely wiped out after recent strikes. This got posted from Coin Bureau. Listen closely. Obviously, take this with a grain of salt. Anything can happen. Okay, I just want you guys to understand that, like, this is still uncertain on what's going to happen next. But check this out.
Do you approve of Iran's new supreme leader? And secondly, can you tell us more about your call with Russian President Vladimir Putin today?
Yes.
What did you discuss?
Yes, I had a very good call with President Putin. We had a lot of people on the line from our side, from his side. We were talking about Ukraine, which is just a never-ending fight. And look, there's tremendous hatred between President Putin and President Zelensky. They can't seem to get it together. but I think it was a positive call on that subject. And we obviously talked then about the Middle East. And he wants to be helpful. I said, you could be more helpful by getting the Ukraine-Russia war over with. That would be more helpful. But we had a very good talk, and he wants to be very constructive. Yeah, please. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. On Iran, you called it an excursion. You said it would be over soon. Are you thinking this week it will be over?
No,
Are you talking
but soon.
about days?
I think soon.
Okay, and with respect
Very soon. Look, everything they have is gone, including their leadership. In fact, there are two levels of leadership, and even actually, as it turns out, more than that. But two levels of leadership are gone. Most people have never even heard about the leaders that they're talking about. So it's obviously been very, very powerful, very effective.
So, yeah, obviously he said that it's not going to be over this week. That's what he stated. So, again, we don't know what's going to be announced this week. We still need to be very cautious. A lot of people are going to say, that's it, we're going to the moon, we're doing this, doing that. We still need to just be a little bit cautious here, because any escalation, and we could see something significant, happen again. Now, the main reason why I also think that the markets are starting to bounce back is because of Jim Cramer. Jim Cramer was bear posting pretty much all night long. This was on March 8th at 10:10 p.m. He basically said, I don't see a path to de-escalation. All of a sudden, we started to see de-escalation. Also, he posted another one early in the AM at 4:37 a.m. And he said, futures were down 2.5% last night. Now down just 1.25% because of European oil reserve potential. Might be a sell opportunity that people will take if it stays this high. Again, the markets completely reversed and did the complete opposite. I mean, it's insane, but this is exactly what happens when Jim is bearish. Now, on top of this, just to take a quick look at how markets reacted, this is what I mean by, oil. Like, if oil stays high, if oil stays above 100, yeah, it's not going to be, a good sign for markets at all. Now, the only reason that oil would start to surge again is if we see another escalation with Iran. Now, we just heard from Trump saying that, this war could be over very soon. Not this week, but very soon. We don't know exactly what that means. We don't know if we're going to see another major update regarding this war this week or not. But if everything is cooling off with this war, if we don't see any more escalations, then yes, we should see oil bounce back below 80, stabilize in the mid $70 region, and we should start to see stocks and crypto continuing to surge. Because again, we have here breaking. Markets are surging as oil crashes. S&P 500 is up 1.49% in the last 3 hours, adding $900 billion. NASDAQ up 1.78% in the last 3 hours, adding $685 billion. Russell 2000 up 2.26% in the last 3 hours, adding $83 billion. Meanwhile, oil is down 7.65% in the last 3 hours. From today's peak, oil has now crashed 22%, wiping out an entire gain. And yeah, I mean, listen, if we think about what's happening here, everyone watches oil, especially in regards to traditional markets, which is why when we think about Bitcoin, right, like crypto barely budged with oil surging. I looked at the markets on Sunday, okay? And when I saw oil open above 100, I was like, all right, well, that means that Bitcoin's definitely crashing. I went and looked at the Bitcoin chart. Specifically, I looked at XRP as well, and it was unchanged. Like, this is what happened on Sunday with the open of oil. Bitcoin dropped from 67.4K down to like 65.7K. And then it was just nothing but up from that point. So again, crypto is showing you how strong the market actually is right now. While everyone is still calling for, sub 70K Bitcoin or sub 60K Bitcoin, we just surged above 70K again. Crypto is stronger than what most people assume right now. So if this war really is coming to a close, if oil continues to drop and stabilize under 80, we should start to see risk on assets going crazy yet again. Now, remember, on the 11th, inflation report, this war is not over this week. That's what he stated. Let's see what happens. Be very cautious of any major escalation with this war, because if it does get escalated again, that means that markets are not going to be happy. We know that Trump earlier today stated on, this is from the White House, if Iran does anything that stops the flow of oil within the Strait of Hormuz, they will be hit by the United States of America 20 times harder than they have been hit thus far. Additionally, we will take out easily destroyable targets that will make it virtually impossible for Iran to ever be built back. As a nation, again, death, fire, and fury will rain upon them. But I hope and pray that it does not happen. This is a gift from the United States of America to China and all of those nations that heavily use the Hormuz Strait. Hopefully, it is a gesture that will be greatly appreciated. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. So again, we need to focus on what happens here, because any escalation, and it invalidates the bullish outlook here. But if things truly are going to stay calm, cooled, and, collective, then hey, we're going to see these markets breathe in a big way, especially with the stock open, later today. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video.